This week on FYI, increasing numbers of children are suffering from long-term COVID symptoms. We hear from those taking their appeals for help directly to the Prime Minister.
We feel ignored by the government, by doctors, by schools.
And do we talk enough about being bullied? We hear from victims who say it's time to speak up and beat the bullies.
They didn't think that I belonged in this country as such, so they would just say, go back home to where you belong.
This is FYI, your weekly news show which gives you a voice on the big issues we all care about.
So we all thought things were getting back to normal, but look at this. COVID cases are rising again in the UK.
And check this out. 1.5 million children and adults are experiencing COVID symptoms for weeks, months, even years.
Yeah, it's called long COVID. Our investigation earlier this year revealed kids suffering from long-term symptoms weren't getting enough support, with many missing out on school.
In some cases, doctors didn't believe they were suffering with long-term symptoms.
What they told me was just go back to school and do some exercise, and that was it, basically. They didn't really want to know anything else.
We caught up with some kids suffering from long COVID who delivered letters appealing for more help directly to the Prime Minister's office at Downing Street.
I suffer from long COVID. I'm not the only one. On the 15th of September, I was in increasing pain and it wouldn't stop in my left leg. So I've been to A&E several times. I can't go to school full time and I have to go in this wheelchair.
I get rashes, I get heart palpitations, chest cramps, headaches, nausea, muscle aches. We feel ignored by the government, by doctors, by schools, by anyone that hasn't gone through it themselves. We aren't being recognised, mainly by the government, and be ignored for our invisible disability.
That's why we have come here to try and help people have a better understanding so that not as much people will be in the same position that we are in.
I think right now the support that we are receiving is not good enough. We're hoping that they're going to make masks mandatory again, hoping to get the windows open in schools, free tests.
I'm looking for kids getting jabs and just everyone being safe, and well, there needs to be more research going in. Not everyone can bounce back from COVID, and I think we need to take notice of it.
The government says it's allocated £50 million to help research the long-term impacts of long COVID. And now there are special clinics to help treat long COVID in children. Let's hope that goes some way to helping.
So, every week, more and more of you are joining our FYI News Club. You or even your whole school can sign up. Members get the chance to report for FYI and our friends at the weekly newspaper First News.
And members are given free resources to set up their own FYI News Club at their school and discuss the latest programme. And we know how you love to practice your fake news or fact detection skills. So this week, Braydon paid a surprise visit to West Acre Middle School, who have joined the FYI News Club.
Hello, new student Braydon, ready for assembly?
Hi Braydon, do you want to go on through?
That'd be amazing, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, hello. How are you guys, you okay? Yeah. You all right? I'm here today because I've heard from your teachers that you're actually quite the good spotters of fake news, aren't you? So I've got two stories that I'm going to show you guys, and you've just got to tell me whether you think it's fake news or fact. Take a good look at this photo. Does it show refugees fleeing fighting during World War II or Ukrainians trying to escape the Russian invasion? The person who posted it claims this is not a photo from 1941. This is a photo from March 2022, with all the colour taken out for a chilling reminder of how history repeats itself. But is it really a photo from recent weeks? Hands up if you think it's fake. OK, right, who wants to come up? Why do you think it's fake news, mate?
If it's in 2022, why would it be black and white? Because these days it's not that black and
It's in
white.
colour, isn't it, usually?
Yeah.
I can actually reveal. It's actually fact.
This was originally taken in colour this year in Ukraine.
Someone took the colour out of it to make the point that people are still having to flee war now, like they had to do in 1941 during World War II. Here's some more photos people are sharing to show how sadly history repeats itself.
Do you reckon we do another one? Yeah. I think so too.
So we found this video being posted on social media by a man claiming that abandoned cars, blockages and checkpoints in the Ukrainian capital city of Kyiv have been placed there as props like on a movie set, and that the images we've been seeing on the news from the war in Ukraine are fake.
Is he telling lies?
It might be just a setup to fool us.
Should we see the answer?
It's fake news. This video was taken in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, but the man's claims that Kyiv is a movie set and that there isn't a war going on in Ukraine is wrong. When the video was taken, the fighting hadn't reached this part of the city. Russian forces were more than 25k away from the centre of Kyiv, which is why you still see people walking around and driving their cars.
So, thank you very much for your help. I thought they were very, very difficult. Was that good? Yeah! And remember, if you've got a story, get a teacher to help you set up an FYI News Club at your school. And who knows, maybe you'll have a new classmate showing up soon too.
Now, to our series of conversations that gives us kids a voice on the big issues. We call it Kidversation. And this week we're talking about bullying. Or are we?
Well, Thomas, that's the issue. Not enough of us are speaking out about being bullied. So this week, we're going to hear from 3 victims who have made it their mission to encourage us to speak out when we're being bullied.
I think it was decided by the world before I discovered myself that I was gay, and I was picked on for it.
People used to say really hurtful comments to me about my hair and my appearance, really any part of me that wasn't stereotypically white.
They didn't think that I belonged in this country as such, so they would just say, go back home to where you belong.
Those labels were dirty words, and it made me want to hide who I was.
Like, even till now, I guess I've just never really processed it too much.
We know that you might be feeling this pain too, but you can turn things around, just like us.
I'm coming out of the other side because of the support I got. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of being different.
I do feel pride kind of having spoken out, because now I feel I'm much better equipped if it were ever to happen again.
One of the things about speaking out about homophobic bullying to somebody, including your mum, is that in a sense you have to sort of come out to them, don't you? And God, that was terrifying. It began to turn around, which actually looking back, and it was a really big move.
It just goes to show that speaking out and sharing your experiences means that we can beat the bullies. To show you just how helpful talking about your experiences can be, we're going to look at some typical bullying situations and offer some advice. These are real cases that Childline have shared with us with the permission of the victim. All we know is their age and what happened. Their stories have been voiced by actors, and we have given them a name.
Hi, I'm Lily and I'm 13 years old. I'm really scared of 2 boys at school who keep making nasty comments about my body and the colour of my skin. They've been doing this on and off since primary school, and now they're bullying me on the bus to school. I try not to show any emotion when this happens, as I don't want to give them a reason to call me names. I get off the bus every day and just break down in tears. They've even threatened to follow me home after school, so now I get off 15 minutes from my house, even if they aren't on the bus with me.
I might need a second. That has just hit home.
That's
There's
actually
so
such
many...
a serious issue, isn't it?
I can understand when somebody dislikes me because I've personally done something wrong, but when it's something to do with your identity, like your skin colour, it's so unfathomable. I honestly want this person to know that these boys honestly just don't know what they're saying.
As someone who's been bullied for homosexuality, which is another thing that you can't change about yourself. The best way to overcome that is to embrace that difference. The most powerful thing you can do is start loving that part of yourself.
Yeah.
And then they can't win.
I would advise you to check your school system. What support do they have in place?
It's so important that she tells somebody.
Yeah.
Often just putting it out in the open to your parents. I know they're your parents, but it's putting it out to them validates the experience and you can move on from that.
Hi, I'm Josh and I'm 13 years old. I'm being cyberbullied by a kid in my class and his friends when I'm gaming. They keep annoying me on live messaging. He's very rude and always tells me to shut up. I'm scared that when I do go back to school, this boy and his friends will all gang up on me. It makes me feel worried, sad and helpless.
I think he has to remember that actually these platforms will all have rules that you have to follow.
Yeah.
And you can report things.
Obviously, these are the people he knows. Maybe report it to the school.
It's not like just because it didn't happen in school, the school cannot take that matter into their own hands. I kind of had a similar thing where I would get put into these massive group chats, and so we kind of always have these jokes that were banter. Some of the things that were being said were actually really hurtful. The comeback would always be, you're ruining the joke, and it's not a joke if you're not laughing. And I think that often people say things online behind the protection of a screen that they would never, ever dare to say to your face.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound like my mum, but like logging off sometimes can be a really helpful thing.
But you need a social media cleanse every now and then.
Hi, I'm Jess and I'm 12 years old. I've been getting nasty anonymous online messages. It's literally tearing me apart. At first I thought it was just something that would pass over time, but it's been going on for a month now. I don't know what I've done to deserve the bullying I'm getting. At first it was about my sexuality, then my weight and my looks. Now it's getting more serious.
If it's something that serious and you report it, also the block button is absolutely your friend in these cases. You don't have a duty to read that.
She said something which I think is a very common thread, and that's, I don't know what I did to deserve this. And the answer is, you did not do anything. I cannot emphasise that enough. It's imperative that she talks to somebody.
Screenshot these things as well. First of all, provides evidence so you can, present your case when you report it. But also it takes it out of the immediate sphere and stops it from feeling quite so in your head.
Give your phone to this trusted adult and they can see it for what's going on.
Or even just a mate, somebody you trust.
To anybody being bullied at the moment, I'd really like to encourage them to not feel any guilt or any shame. There is the most strength in sharing your story and in speaking your truth and saying that you will not be silenced.
To see more of that conversation and watch all of our big conversations on the big issues, just head to our webpage, first.news/FYI, and click on the link. There's also info on where to go for support if you're being bullied.
As the war in Ukraine continues, next week there's a special edition of FYI. Here's Scarlett with more on our investigation into Europe's refugee crisis and the escape from Ukraine.
February 2022, and Ukraine was under attack. Russian forces launched a full-scale invasion of the country, bringing war to Europe for the first time in decades. Millions of families were terrified about what would happen to them. They had to flee their homes to find somewhere safe to live, and many of them came to neighbouring countries like Poland.
My parents are now in Ukraine and they stay there to defend our country. We try to be calm and we believe in our country and in our soldiers.
In this special edition of FYI, we're hearing from Ukrainian families whose lives have been ripped apart by war.
I am terrified of the thought that someday I will call them and they will not respond.
Well, I suppose one good thing that's come from this war is the amount of good that you see. So many people across Europe are welcoming Ukrainians into their homes.
Yeah, but our government is being criticised for being slow to letting Ukrainian refugees into Britain. There is still a huge amount waiting for visas.
But some Ukrainian families have been let in recent days. We're going to leave you with some images we found of Ukrainians finally being welcomed into the UK. See you next time.
Hello. How are you? Tired? Yeah, no feeling now, yeah. Oh, aren't you?